Welcome back once more. In this final video, I'll show you how to process the results that we previously calculated using the launch simulation button. So I've arrived at the simulation completed window here, where it says once you add a plot, it will be shown here. So let's do that. Here on the right hand side, I will add a plot that will show up here. For now it's empty because there's no data to show yet. That's because we have to first select the data we want to inspect. So we have a choice between line and map plot. So with 2D and the 3D plot, I will choose the line plot. I will choose the output, the type of value. That's what I want to see on the y-axis. So in this case, I want to look at the reflection because I was making an anti-reflection coating in the 0-0 order. I want to look at this for the TE polarization. So this menu selects the polarization. And I want to see, I have a number of options here. So there's field coefficient, which is the coefficient of the electric field, the power coefficient, pointing vector, the magnetic field, and the electric field. I want to see the power coefficient in this case, and I want to see its absolute value. For power coefficient, of course, only the absolute value is important. For the phase, real part and imaginary part are there in order to, for instance, look at complex quantities. So I'll select absolute, and that's done. Now I still remember I defined the thickness parameter. I need to decide for each parameter what I want to set them for in this plot. So for thickness, I will click it and say I want this to be on the x-axis. I also have the option to put it on the slider. I will get to that in a minute. Or I can choose it to be fixed. Since I only have one parameter, I will put it on the x-axis. I'll click X. Voila. Now that I've set my plot, I want to collect the data. So I'll click Update here on the lower right-hand side. This will now post-process the data, and this will give it an icon here running. So the results that I've previously calculated will now be post-processed, and this gives me this plot. I can now inspect it. I can look at the individual values using the tooltip, so I can enable tooltip and hover over the screen, see what the individual values were. I can disable that. If I want to store this plot for later viewing, I can go here onto this save icon. Click that. I can export this either as a comma separated value file or as an image. I will click image for now, export image, and you'll see here on the bottom it popped up and was downloaded. You can do the same for the CSV. So I'll click export CSV, and there you go. Also a CSV file was downloaded. And I can now continue with my analysis. For instance, I can add a second plot where I want to look at a different quantity. So I'll choose line again. Now I want to look at the transmission, again in 0-0 diffraction order. For TE polarization, I want to look at the power in absolute value, and the thickness will again be on the x-axis, and I click Update. It's collecting the results and showing them. So here we have then the thickness, which of course is a mirror image of the reflection, because I have no absorbing materials in there. Now let's say I have these both plots and I want to export them together. I can click Export, PDF report, and this will paste all my plots, the two I have, or it doesn't matter if I have 20. We'll just put them here in a separate report, which can then be inspected later as a PDF. There's a couple of more options we have here. Let's say if I want to change some of the details of my simulation, for instance, I had this structure with a coating made of magnesium fluoride. If I want a different material, for instance, let's say I want to use titanium dioxide. Here's titanium dioxide. Okay. Again, I want to change the thickness. All of this is fine, but now we have a problem. This data we had here was calculated for magnesium fluoride, which is not what we have currently here. That's titanium dioxide. So no worries, I can just launch the simulation again by clicking New Simulation. It will ask me to confirm, because any results I had will be overwritten now. I click Yes, and I will be taken back to the simulation screen where it will calculate once more using my new configuration. And once that's done, I can start generating my report again. If I'm ever not sure about which data is now being plotted, I can go here into Result Details, check the configuration that I used to simulate. I can also check if there were any errors or warnings during the simulation. So in our case, we didn't have any errors and no warnings as well. So it was a well-defined simulation. I can click that away. And we can also take a look at the metrics. So that's the time it took us to complete the simulation. So in this case, we only spent 2 seconds actually calculating. All of these can be exported as well. If I go into the export button, instead of a PDF, I now choose a simulation JSON. This will give me a JSON file that contains all the details of this simulation so that I can later upload it again and rerun the simulation on the same machine or on a different PC on a different account as you prefer. That's it for this video. In the next video, we'll be moving into more complicated structures such as diffraction gratings. Bye bye.